A new life awaits you in the off-world colonies. The chance to begin again in a golden land of opportunity and adventure.
Let's discuss Ridley Scott's sci-fi masterpiece Blade Runner and how it portrays replicants and humans by examining their situations in the workforce and what that message says about American capitalism. Just like Scott's previous sci-fi classic Alien, which also analyzes corporate tyranny, Scott chose to continue with that theme in Blade Runner. The opening crawl sets the stage by providing background about replicants and the special police force tracking them. These Nexus 6 replicants were created to mimic actual humans as close as possible, with the intentions to be used as slave labor. That's their purpose. Hard work forever until their 4-year lifespan burns out. But what's just as important is the way these replicants are disposed of by the Blade Runner units hunting them. Just before the scrolling text finishes, the last 2 lines provide how humans view replicants. When a Blade Runner kills a replicant, it's referred to as retirement. It specifically states their deaths are not executions. The text wants to make sure that the audience does not feel any empathy for these replicants when they are killed. This wanted lack of empathy from the audience is ironic, since empathy is a primary emotion separating replicants from humans in the film.
Is this to be an empathy test? Capillary dilation of the so-called blush response?
The designers reckon that after a few years, they might develop their own emotional responses. Hate, love, fear, anger, envy.
In Blade Runner, free will doesn't seem to exist when it comes to work. The true villain of the story isn't the Tyrell Corporation or Roy Batty and his deadly crew. It's the never-ending work that's imposed on everyone. Work until death. Even Deckard is forced to return to work again to hunt down rogue replicants.
I was quit when I come in here, Brian. I'm twice as quit now. No choice, huh?
No choice, pal.
Any retiring concerning replicants is compared with death, specifically by way of murder. Deckard's boss, Captain Bryant, even refers to replicants as skin jobs, implying their presence is nothing more than fleshy tissue waiting to be disposed of when they've completed their jobs.
Come on, don't be an asshole, Deckard. I've got 4 skin jobs walking the streets.
This critique continues with the introduction of the Los Angeles landscape. Gone are the days of the Hollywood Hills and the beautiful views from Mulholland Drive. It seems that's all gone for the industrial hellhole that Los Angeles has become. The gloomy atmosphere is a symbolic extension of what becomes of a society when corporatism takes over. The opening shot seems to come from behind the Hollywood sign. I visited LA and made the long trek up to the Hollywood sign, and the view of downtown LA looks exactly like this opening shot. It's as if the many oil refineries in the foreground have replaced the Hollywood sign. The fade-in shows a horizon bursting with fiery puffs from oil refinery smokestacks. Apparently, Los Angeles, during the early 20th century, was overloaded with oil fields, but with an extremely fast-growing population, the Hollywood film industry, and high levels of methane gas produced from the oil wells, many of the oil fields were eventually abandoned or turned into residential areas for new homes and apartments. The danger of and exploitation from LA oil companies is what's being referenced here in the opening scene of Blade Runner. And the random close-up of an eye is there for us to realize this. Sure, this close-up could probably be a reference to the constant usage of eyes in the film, but the eyes of replicants haven't been established yet. Only the LA landscape has. And to further prove my point, the close-up of the eye, of which there are 2 in under 20 seconds, is to remind you to pay attention to its important symbolism within the eye itself. The eye shows the bursting fire from the smokestacks in both shots. Scott is telling the audience to take note of the city landscape. We're dealing with a large city that has been dominated by the oil industry and transformed into a dark, heartless shell of an area populated by disposable humans and replicants alike. There's nothing subtle about Blade Runner's marketing of its companies. They are thrown at you every chance the story gets. Usually, films incorporate the advertising of products in the background of a scene, but Blade Runner puts them out in the open so everyone must see them. The story uses the shiny neon lights of the cyberpunk atmosphere to display these advertisements. This is a future of forced consumerism, and any humans and replicants must be a part of that ideology. They have no choice. The street where Deckard is sitting in the beginning is filled with passerbys of all types, but there's certainly an Asian dominance over this area and most of the story. It makes sense to assume that what we're seeing is the Chinatown district of LA because of the Asian influence, but I don't think so. It's bigger than that. Blade Runner implies that the majority of Los Angeles is Asian in the future. The entire side of skyscrapers are beaming with Asian women advertising products. This blatant advertising by only one race implies the majority of that area is of that race as well. That's how marketing and advertising is handled in general. Companies use specifically chosen people of certain backgrounds to attract members of that community to buy their products. It's a marketing strategy as old as capitalism itself. The only food we see eaten in the film is Japanese noodles. We don't see Deckard or anyone else eat a cheeseburger or chicken nuggets. Perhaps that's because of the animal cruelty theme. Blade Runner and its source novel note the extinction of animals on Earth. Any eating of animal meat in the movie would likely be viewed as demonic. More Asian influence comes during Deckard's first scene with the sushi master. Deckard speaks to him in English, but the cook acts as if he doesn't understand him.
3, 4. No, 4. 2, 2, 4.
But when Gaff arrives, speaking Japanese to Deckard, the sushi master suddenly can speak English.
He say you under arrest, Mr. Deckard.
Lofa, Nehojma, te vaya Blade Runner.
He say you Blade Runner.
Gaff pulls the same trick. He speaks Japanese to Deckard in this scene, but at the end he speaks English.
It's too bad she won't live. But then again, who does?
It seems that Asian languages have become the primary vernacular in this future Los Angeles and the main community companies advertise to. The effect from Asian influence and especially Asian products were a huge conversation during the 1970s and 80s. Products that were made in China and other Asian countries were being exported en masse to the United States and bought by American consumers. It was the beginning of the East's dominance of material goods sold to the US, and America's realization that American companies could outsource their jobs to foreign countries to make huge profits for themselves. And many instances of Asian characters in Asian advertising reflects this and predicts a gloomy, hopeless Los Angeles future, and by further extension, a dire global future too.